call. Brian Jones. Here. Jeremy Weller.
Dave, sorry.
Yeah.
Tyler's trying to get it live a minute. Can you do that again as soon as I give you the thumbs up?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
All right, I want to call the meeting to order. Start Brian Jones. Here. Jeremy Weller.
Here.
Morgan Brown.
Here.
Nancy Manson.
Here.
Christina Shark.
Here.
Jeff Bittner.
Here.
And Dave Wabner's here. Adoption of agenda and declaration of a quorum. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, Weller.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor? Are we going to do roll call here? Do you think it'd be easier to do roll call?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
All in favor, Brian Jones? Yes. Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
Morgan Brown?
Yes.
Nancy Manson?
Yes.
Christina Shark?
Yes.
Jeff Bittner?
Yes.
And Dave Wabner's yes. Okay, next item, the public hearing for the 2021 budget.
So we've got the public hearing scheduled. We ran notice of it in the Courier. We got proof of publication, no less than 10, no more than 20 days. So we've met that requirement. We also indicated on the agenda that anybody interested in commenting could come to the district office. Since we have a small crew here, we could do the social distancing, and they could also send a written request for comment. I received none, and nobody is here at the district office. So at this time, we don't have any public comments on the fiscal year 21 budget. All the items are attached to the agenda. They're the same as what we reviewed at the previous meeting. The tax rate we're looking to certify at this time is $14 and then 0.71738, which is a decline of about 3 cents from last year on the district's tax ads. So what we're looking for is that the board would have an approval of the fiscal year 21 budget.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
so I have a motion to certify the 2021 budget. Do I have a second?
Second, Bittner.
Further discussion? All in favor, we're doing roll call again. Brian Jones?
Yes.
Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
Morgan Brown?
Yes.
Nancy Manson?
Yes.
Christina Shark?
Yes.
Jeff Bittner?
Yes.
Dave Wabrenner is a yes also. And then item number 2 is the budget guarantee.
And this one just ended up on the agenda in error. We already did this at our last meeting, so no action is required. So if somebody wants to make a motion to, it wouldn't really be tabled, but we would just, I don't know that we even need a motion, but no action is necessary since it's already been taken.
Okay. So we can just move on.
So we can just close the public hearing now?
Yeah, public hearing, you can, Dave, if you just want to make a note, I'll note the times, close the public hearing, and then we can move forward.
Okay, so I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Second.
Who was that second?
Jones.
Jones, thank you.
So a motion and a second. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, Brian Jones?
Yes.
Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
Morgan Brown?
Yes.
Nancy Manson?
Yes.
Christina Shark?
Yes.
Jeff Bittner?
Yes.
And Dave Wabner's yes. Okay, reports. Online learning. So Nicole, is that you or Terry?
That is me.
Okay,
So I just wanted to give the board an update and allow an opportunity for board members to ask questions. So the state has put out 2 different models. They put out the voluntary educational enrichment opportunity, and they put out required educational services. The voluntary measure is what the majority of districts are doing, and I can give you percentages in a minute here. but that's all putting information still out for parents and students, but not requiring new learning because we'd have to make sure we met all the guidelines of IDEA, guidelines of 504s, IEPs, all of those such things, and make sure we provide that equitability. So we have proceeded with that voluntary educational enrichment. The numbers on that, just so you guys are aware, 87.2% of schools in the state of Iowa, which comes out to 785, are doing that same method. Required, there's 1.8%, so 6 districts. And the combination we have down that the state reported, there's 11 districts doing the combination, 11%, sorry. So 36 districts that are doing some of the required maybe for high school and maybe voluntary for middle school and elementary, just a different combination for whatever those districts decide. So we started pushing out, and we have now an elementary pre-K through 5th grade online website where teachers are meeting in their grade level PLCs and working intentionally on putting together resources online. We also have a middle school one for 6th through 8th grade that is just been rolled out today. And we notified, well, we didn't actually notify all parents yet. We put it on social media. Tomorrow, a letter goes out to all parents. Staff were communicated with on that as well today. The high school is using the Schoology platform that they've been utilizing for grading. So every level is doing things a little bit different, but there's also, opportunities for ongoing learning. Teachers have been worried about, especially at the elementary level, connecting with kids that maybe don't have internet access, because we can track everything through Schoology and Clever and see how many teachers are getting on and see how many students are getting on. And if you listened, I know there was a big report on TV on Sunday across the nation. They're saying under 30% of students are connecting through schools right now. So that's not saying we don't want more than that, but that's been a challenge everywhere. And I think there's multiple reasons it's been a challenge. But we're also now starting tomorrow with the meal delivery services. We're putting an activity sheet. We're going to start with once a week for pre-K through 5. So there's that opportunity out there. And we're connecting with Walmart, Hy-Vee, I think Fairway and JBS on putting those activity sheets in those facilities as well, so parents can pick them up, and we'll push out messaging on social media that will be available as well. So, if I'm stopping at Walmart, just like when you pick up your school supply list, you can pick up the list of activities for the week if you would choose to use that measure. So we're utilizing staff members trying to come up with creative ways to connect our students. We're also working really intentionally on first focusing on seniors, how to get some of those credits recovered. Some of them are in those Plato classes, and we have 60 some seniors right now that are not on track to graduate. So our high school staff are working on making connections, getting some of that work made up. Again, not new learning, because we can't do new learning, but it's making up things that have been missed in the past to try to get some of those grades up, and teachers getting those grades updated in Power School as well. So I know that was a lot of information. And again, we keep adding things as we learn new things and we work with teachers. But I guess I wanted to know, as the board, if you have questions, concerns, comments, suggestions.
I guess I don't have anything really, Nicole, other than I like the idea of handing stuff out at our meals, when we hand out our meals, having something for the parents. So I'm glad we're doing that. That was something I was going to bring up tonight was, that I think that's a perfect opportunity to hit some of those students with some kind of educational material.
And Jeremy, on that, if the teachers think we can do it like what they've just started this process, if they think we can provide a sheet more than once a week, we'll do it more than once a week. We're using our print shop to make the copies and just delivering them to the Bridgeview Center, and pretty easy to stick those activity sheets with those meals.
So Nicole, so this would be something different other than what they've been handing out, right? Because I know when we went and done it, they've been handing out some little activity sheets to the kids as far as some exercises to do and what they would like Chef Bob to make them and stuff like that, which is they've a lot of them have been doing that. And when you go back to get the sheet the next day and they get that little egg, that really makes their day.
Yes, so those sheets will still be given by the YMCA, those activity sheets, crossword puzzles, they're all beneficial. There's also some social emotional learning on those. But we're just gonna add in addition to and make sure families know that these are activities that teachers have taken time to put together, that you necessarily don't need your computer or device, that you can do these activities at home without internet.
So this professional learning, or this learning that we're doing now, is 87% of the state is doing what we're doing. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
There's very few schools, again, because of the challenges. Now, I thought there was a few pieces. I talked to the Associated Press the other day, and one of the big pieces with our staff, we focused on improving face-to-face instruction, because of course in school, that's what we typically give. So there's lots of challenges with that. So our professional development has been focused on that. During these times as well, I think it's hard for families, including our staff, that are some of them in crisis mode. You know, there's fear, there's stress, there's additional concerns happening and coming their way. So if we require too many things out of our staff, I think we can overwhelm them as well. So I think this is a balance. Staff are working together, they're providing that support through Zoom sessions, coming up with activities. We're giving them to parents, but we're not saying they're required learning. So it's not like parents that are working full-time have to also try to teach their students full-time and get all this ongoing learning updated. So we think we're doing the best measure for our students and families in Ottumwa at this time.
This is a very stressful time for everyone, and I appreciate all the effort that everyone is doing to make this work.
Any other questions on the online learning? Okay, move on to item number 2 on their meal services.
So just so the board knows and the community, we've updated some of the safety measures on this. They're wearing masks now, they're wearing gloves. We aren't letting students come out of apartment buildings with families and connect face to face. It's more of the high school measure where they're driving by, we're sticking things in through the window. And we just increased the safety measures because we don't want anybody, of course, to get sick during this time. In addition to that, we're moving for that reason as well into 1 meal a day, and I should say 1 meal, 1 time slot a day for all of the locations, but 3 meals will be within that bag. So we're reducing the contact time, but we're still providing the food and the meals and the services for our students. But again, it will be 1 time throughout the day, and we're just starting that this week. We also continue to brainstorm and partner with the YMCA, the Bridge Youth Center. There's all kinds of, like the Iowa pork producers called the other day. They're going to make a donation of pork on a stick they're going to provide 1,200 to 1,500 of those someday this week, deliver them to the Bridge Youth Center for a meal. I mean, there's been all kinds of people stepping up. I drive to Yesway on the south side once a week, and they make donations. M&Ms, cupcakes, like you name it. So everybody in the community has been really assisting us with making this a pretty special things for kids. So as we learn more, we're doing better. And again, that safety measure we're putting in place, but we're still going to be providing all those meals for kids. So I think that's the important thing. And again, we're going to start those activity sheets tomorrow as well. But as we learn more, we might be making some changes. But they'd be very simple changes, you know, and like I said, we'll still be getting food to kids. Definitely a learning process.
Definitely.
Any questions on the meal services?
No, Dave, we just got one comment. I'd just like to say that, you know, after going and doing some of these meals, I want to thank everybody that's been involved with this. This has been a huge thing, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. And I know that, like last week, Chef Bob and whoever helped him made like 780 some cupcakes for those kids, and then of course put them in a little plastic container. And so everybody that's been involved with that, I just want to thank, because it's been a huge thing for these kids, and being there and doing it, you know, up at Washington Street Apartments has been very giving. So
Nicole, do they have a need still for volunteers?
So what's happening, Jeremy, if there's anybody that wants to volunteer, we're still sending in the names to Kayla because sometimes people do it for a while and find it's not for them or something else comes up that they have to take care of, someone else's child or something. So we still are collecting volunteers. We have spots filled, but again, like every day something opens up or we're problem solving. We have another need somewhere to be filled.
Anything else? Okay, let's move on to some discussion items. Item number one, I guess it'd be spring and summer sports. And as you can see, yeah, what do we want to do with the district employee coaches essentially? Nicole, do you want to talk about
Driver's
that?
ed first, Dave. Do you want to do driver's ed first or do?
Driver's ed on there?
It's on
Oh,
mine.
you have to be logged in because I only have access
Oh.
to board members, sorry.
Oh, okay, I didn't log in. I have it on my other computer. Sure, we can do driver's ed. I'll log in.
So this one, I've heard from a few of you and you're on very opposite ends of the spectrum, which is why I put it on the board agenda. So we have a teacher within our system that does driver's education. I put some of the information he shared with me. We emailed back and forth. Basically, my understanding is once he starts doing, we can do online classes, but he only has so much time to start driving with students after those online classes begin. So he asked me for guidance and I'm asking, I guess, you guys, I don't want families, I mean, we could have it where families choose. If they want their child in a car or not driving, we could have it where we're just holding off until the social distancing thing is passed. I guess I'm asking for the board for some conversations and guidance on what I can tell our driver's education instructor, how we want him to proceed.
When do they typically do that, Nicole?
My understanding is they drive in the spring and take classes in the spring and roll into summer, and then they have another session, maybe summer into fall. Is my understanding.
Have you heard from any other districts across the state or any other entities doing this, or they have any solutions or guidance?
So it's kind of like everything. You've got a few outliers here and there, but most people are sitting to see what everybody else does before they make a decision. But at some point, somebody's got to make a decision. But there's not a lot of people that I've asked that have said, yep, this is what we're doing. They're kind of waiting.
I'll give you my input. If the instructor is comfortable giving the instructions and the students' families are comfortable driving, then I think we should allow that.
And I was on the opposite end of that, just that anytime we can keep people apart right now, I think that's kind of, in my opinion, that's our priority.
I agree with, I agree with Jeff.
And I would just say, I agree with Morgan. I was one of the ones that wrote Nicole and said, the DOT allows this right now. Our driver's ed instructor has a waiver from the DOT that said that you can go ahead and start on driver's ed now if you want. And I think we should leave it up to parents. The timeline is tricky for parents. Sometimes you've got to get these things in and get them done. And I think if a parent's fine with it, we should proceed.
I think we need to err on the side of caution. I don't think we should be letting students be driving at this time.
Yeah, right. Just because we're allowed to go to the grocery store doesn't mean that we need to go to the grocery store any more than we absolutely have to. I don't.
Is there anything else they could do that's doesn't involve person-to-person contact that they could get done, or is it really just classroom driving and that's all you have?
Those are the two aspects in my understanding that they have to do: the classroom instruction, which can be online, and then the driving. And you can't get out of the driving portion, and it has to be within a certain time frame after the online classes are completed.
Do we know what that timeline is?
My understanding was it was within a month, Jeremy. Yeah, so 30 days, a month from reading it. Which is hard because we don't know when this is ending. So that's the other, I mean, you know, if you knew something was ending, you could say, yep, you can start on May 1st, but we really don't know. So I have Morgan and Christina that say allow, and I have Jeff and Nancy that say do not allow.
I guess my opinion would be, I think if we leave it up to our teacher and the parents, if they want to let their kids be involved in it, as far as going into the, you're talking about going into the summer, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I would be all for leaving it up to our teacher and the parents of the kids if they still want to do it.
I still consider this a school activity. I mean, we've canceled sports, we've canceled graduation, we've canceled classes. You know, and again, I guess I just, with Nancy, on the medicine side of this is just, you know, anytime you can keep people away from each other, we should be doing that.
We're not offering any other type of individual activities, are we, Nicole? I mean, won't this be the exception, driver education?
That is correct. We're not offering anything at this time.
So I just think that it will be very difficult for a parent to say to a child, I'm sorry, I'm not going to let you do this. I think that we as a district need to say safety for students first, health-wise. So I think we need to say, I'm sorry, I know this is a difficult time for you, but I just don't understand. I can't agree to driving, letting a child be in a car with a student. I mean, with the instructor.
So when does this typically start? Is this like starts in May, starts in June?
From talking to him, my understanding was he would be starting it now. But I can get that exact time frame, Jeremy, for you guys, because it sounds like the board's very split. So I can bring this back as an action item at the next meeting.
And that's what I would like to see it brought back. I think it's too early. I think we'll know more this week on school in general. And I kind of err on the side of not doing anything until after that May 1st timeline anyway. You know, by the time we have our next meeting, this whole discussion about driver's ed may not even need to be had, because I'm hoping that we're back in school and they can continue on. But if I had to vote tonight, I would vote to hold off on it if I had to do it tonight.
Well, we don't have it as an action item. So,
Correct.
yeah, I would have a tendency to lean towards everything else is canceled school activity wise. I don't know why this would be a lot different. I know it is a separate entity and a separate business, but it still involves, I mean, it is our school driver's ed program with, so I guess I would probably lean holding off at least until we can find out what our future looks like.
And when can we discuss that?
Yeah, Dave, kind of along those lines, I don't mean to totally digress, but Jeff just said we've canceled graduation. I didn't get that memo. When did that happen?
Okay, we have not canceled graduation.
No, we're not canceled. No, I mean, maybe I know we've delayed, we're rescheduling prom and maybe graduation. I don't know, but you're right, Christina. You're right. It was a different conversation. But who will make the decision to go past May 1st?
The governor. So again, you guys, we've been only following the governor, and unless you guys tell me to do something else, whatever she has given us as a directive, we've moved forward and done just like the majority of all schools across the state. Now, you know, Des Moines has of course said, no matter what the governor says, they're not going back. They're the only district that I'm aware of at this point who has said that. So we've been following all the guidance of Governor Reynolds throughout this entire situation. And prom, just as long as we're on this, because this all ties together for these activities, was May 2nd. So right now, the soonest we could come back to school was that Friday, May 1st. So we haven't said no prom. We're only communicating out prom will not be the 2nd.
Right.
We're going to wait for more directions and more guidance, and we'll place it hopefully somewhere. The plans are to have prom and graduation at some point of time. I think our kids deserve those opportunities if at all possible.
Yes.
We're waiting on a date till we know more, because we don't want to set a date and then have to set another date and another date.
I think Jeremy brought up a good point. You know, the next 2 weeks could be just huge. And when is our next meeting scheduled for?
27th.
2 weeks from
Yep.
today.
Okay, so I'm kind of sitting tight with things maybe until then to see, because we may know a lot more in several arenas by then. So.
And I'm just asking your feedback on things that have come up that I don't think is my decision to make. So I appreciate you guys helping process through those things to provide some guidance for me for our district moving forward. And I agree, we'll know more Thursday, I think, of this week. Maybe Friday, but hopefully Thursday.
Okay, it's not letting me log into my computer, so if I missed something on the agenda that I don't have to be logged in, somebody has to correct me. So I have spring and summer sports, I guess. Is that the next item?
Yes. So I put 2 questions there. What does the board want to do with district employee coaches? As of April 20th, the district employees have been paid approximately 67% of their allotment. And the second question, what does the board want to do with non-employee coaches that have not received any pay without the official opening of the season? So again, I'm posing these questions. I think I talked to Mr. Moss's AD, asked him his recommendation. So I'm bringing you his recommendation would be to continue to pay coaches, because he said they're hard to find and fill, and then to pay some and not to pay others. What does that look like? But I also wanted to make you guys aware, like with asking legal counsel, their recommendation is to end contracts, to terminate those and to not pay those employees, even ones that are teachers that can also coach at the same time, and to not pay out those funds because they're not doing those tasks. But if you look at from a PR standpoint, and we value coaches and what they do, and really like track coaches did a couple weeks. There's some coaches for spring and summer that have not, but they might. So we might have a shortened baseball and softball season. So I'm just throwing it all out there, but there's 2 questions and you can answer them both the same way. But the options are really continue forward and let's just pay them all and we'll just proceed, because this is a fluke situation that we hope never happens again. Or you pay one group and not the other group, which I really don't like. Or you don't pay them all, and I think that PR move could do us more damage for filling coaching spots for the future as well. We've not asked coaches, of course, because we would know what our response would be.
Nicole, I would like to see us pay everybody, even some of those coaches that you mentioned in the summer sports like baseball and softball. Having done that in the past, I know that they may not have a season going that they've started, but they've most certainly started practicing and holding open gyms and putting in time after hours, probably back in December, January. So I'm okay with paying everybody as they have been paid and contracted for.
I agree with that. And it's not a huge amount of money either. I mean, but I just think that the PR aspect, and we're paying everybody else, and I think we should be consistent with that. I support paying everybody.
I support paying everybody also.
I agree with that.
Coaches don't make much per hour as it is. So yeah, I would agree paying them. The only thing, I guess, if we have I know we don't know. Once again, we'll know more hopefully by Friday. If we have any sports that we have assistant coach jobs openings that maybe, you know, I hate to say don't fill them, but it would make more sense to not fill them if, you know, but we'll know more in a week. So, but yes, I would definitely be the ones that have signed a contract already. I don't know why we wouldn't pay them.
So I'm gonna let Mr. Moss know after this meeting tonight that we're gonna go. I mean, we all agree with his recommendation and he can communicate out with coaches. I'll continue to get paid. And if we can have summer or spring seasons at some level, great. And if we can't, people at least know they're gonna continue on in their role unless they resign. And if we have open slots, like you said, at this point, we probably won't fill them till this is over, but I don't think we have too many.
Or at least until we know what we're doing. I mean,
Right.
if we're going to have a season, fill them. But
Right.
obviously, if we're not going to have a season, there'd be no point in doing that.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions on that from anyone? Input? Durham transportation is next on the list.
So just an update again on this. So Durham now has been communicating with our legal counsel, between their legal counsel. So I just wanted the board to be able to out loud have this public conversation because I'm not sure everybody understands. So Durham, we contract out for rendered services, which I know you as a board know, but I'm going to say that out loud for anybody listening on this. So Durham has their own employees. So all of the bus drivers, we don't have any Ottumwa Community School District bus drivers. They're employed by Durham. So this whole CARES Act does not have any piece that says school districts should be paying for employees that are not theirs, that are not rendering current services at the time. We again have lots of contracted services, and the more John and I process through that, the larger the list gets, and we're reaching out to them to make sure they understand if they're not our employees. We don't believe that we should be responsible at this point to pay for them if they're not providing services. If they are our employees, we're of course, as you know, as a board, taking care of them and continuing to pay them through this global pandemic situation. So we're not the only school currently not reimbursing Durham. I talked to Urbandale today. They're still having conversations. They're talking about potentially paying some. Their reasoning that they would potentially pay some is they're competitive in the metro area. Their drivers could go to other schools, but they haven't agreed to doing that either. I haven't heard of anybody that's paying them in full. And again, our legal counsel is advising us it's not really the appropriate use of public funds because again, they're not providing us any services at this time, so we shouldn't be paying them. But I'll be quiet now and let you guys have some conversations if you have questions, or I know all 7 of you have been on the same page with this as we've discussed this.
Yeah, I would agree. At this point in time, I think it's been pretty clear. We have a lot of entities that we do business with, a lot of contracts and things, and I just don't understand why we would want to pay employees of another entity when we aren't going to do that with all of them. So that doesn't make sense to me at all. I would like to hope that Durham would take care of its own employees. A little disappointing that you know, from some of the feedback that we've gotten as board members, or at least I have, and I just think it's disappointing that the blame is trying to come on the school districts as opposed to their actual employer. It's very disappointing, but so I think it's pretty safe to say I feel they need to take care of their own employees.
Nicole, do we know how many bus drivers there are?
I do not.
Okay.
I can get that number if you want it.
No, it just was going to help me make a point that we paid Durham a very hefty amount of money every month. And I'd be willing to bet that if you went back and looked at the number of employees and how much their payroll is a month, that Durham Bus Services makes good money. And it's a shame that they don't step up and pay their employees through this time. and try to pawn it off on the school district. I think we get compared to our neighboring school districts who are much smaller, and their bus drivers are actual employees of the district. They don't contract it out like we do. And I think that's what's confusing some of the bus drivers and some of the public, is there's a difference between us and our neighboring school districts as to how we operate bus services. I think, John, I think, responded in an email maybe last week, or Nicole, you forwarded it to the board, that talked about where the money comes also for that funding. And it's not necessarily money given to us for transportation, correct?
Correct.
I mean, this money's general fund money, correct? That can be used for anything.
Correct.
Okay. That's all the comments I have.
I would just say that it was frustrating for their employees at first, because I don't think Durham was very supportive and very clear to them, is what my understanding was. Now, I haven't heard anything since, so hopefully they're being taken care of, but I just don't think they were very clear and understanding with their employees from the get-go.
Yeah, I think what has got me, I don't know, I guess I'll say disappointed, even though that's not really what it is. I don't want to say what it is publicly, but the way that I think they've really misrepresented what's happening to their employees, and then constantly calling the district office, trying to say that this is our issue. And it's just not. We went out on a limb and said, hey, we're going to take care of our employees because we value them and we want to keep them and we appreciate them. Durham is sending another message, and it's not the message that we chose to send, which I'll say is disappointing to me.
Well, and I'll just throw in real quick, whether Durham wants to take care of their employees or not, there's a lot of options for these people right now. There's a lot of other assistance or aid that they can get in this time. So it doesn't necessarily need to fall back to districts to do this. So I agree with everything everybody has said.
Okay, so if there's nothing else on that topic, we can move on. We have a few action items here. First one is the shared social worker contract. What it looks like it's with the AEA, is that correct?
Yeah, so this will be a mental health social worker for Evans. And we can get sharing dollars, operational sharing dollars from the state. Of course, it comes a year after we do this joint agreement. They're assisting us with the hiring, and then they'll be with us all but on Fridays. They'll check in with them as well, but basically they'll be utilized to serve Evans.
Any questions on that from anyone?
Just real quick, Nicole, is there a reason she's not going to Evans and the high school?
So the only reason is Christina, actually, you're on my list to discuss. If we can get additional supports, we think we need something else in addition at the high school, but we really think we need somebody about full-time at Evans. So we're still looking at another measure to add something or somebody else to the high school as well.
I think 4 days a week just at Evans is a lot, but I will also say, and we can talk about that at a different time too. I will also say, I know Brianne personally, I've worked with her quite a bit and she is amazing. That's a huge win for anybody that gets her.
And Christina, if we can touch base, because again, that's your area of expertise, I'd love your feedback. And if we can do high school and Evans shared, that'd be fabulous.
I personally think 4 days a week shared between those buildings is plenty, but yeah, let's chat some other time.
Okay.
So this contract, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
I was just going to say, I move that we accept the contract with the AEA.
So I have a motion.
I would second that, Weller.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, Brian Jones,
Yes.
Jeremy Weller,
Yes.
Morgan Brown,
Yes.
Nancy Manson,
Yes.
Christina Shark,
Yes.
Jeff Bittner,
Yes.
David Walbrenner's a yes. Next on the list, the 800 amp service installation. We talked about back on the 23rd of March, maybe, at the high school.
So I want to address one of your questions just from today that I didn't get back to till now. So that box we were going to put in, you guys wanted inside and Chuck said inside. So that will be no added cost to move the electrical box from the outside to the inside, just so you're aware. And I have Chuck available on here to ask questions.
I did get a hold of the rep from Van Mayen, and you guys had a couple questions last time. And one of the things was that box going to be on the inside or the outside of that wall? And that box was always going to be on the inside of that wall with the circuit breakers on the inside of that wall. The only thing that might be on the outside would be like a junction box or some way of pulling the wire through, but it will be through the wall and into a nice junction box on the inside. The timeline to complete, he talked about 4 to 6 weeks actually, after it's okayed to be done. And I told him also that we didn't want a low bid and then a bunch of change orders. And we went through the job again, making sure that we understood each other. And I see no way of knowing what we're going to hit underneath the ground. But as far as any change orders, I didn't see any way that there's going to be any change orders the way we talked about it.
Thank you, Chuck, for looking into that stuff.
Any questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
So we did speak with the legal counsel and they said that it was okay to write up a construction contract.
No, because we already, well, you can, but you can't change. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything because we've already put it out for quotes and bids. So typically, if you were going to do that, you had to do it on the front end for it to be meaningful, is what legal counsel stated.
Okay.
Scope of work it have to,
We'll check attached.
yeah.
And I don't want to rehash this whole thing. I would just say, kind of like last time, I know Morgan brought this up, but in the future, when we do these, it would be nice to have a timeline built into the bid process, and penalties for not getting it done in that time, so we don't run into an issue that the city's ran into several times. Food for thought for the future.
So looking for a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the Von Manen electric bid for $49,504.68.
Second,
Jones.
So I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, Brian Jones,
Yes.
Jeremy Weller,
Yes.
Morgan Brown,
Yes.
Nancy Manson,
Yes,
Christina Shark,
Yes.
Jeff Bittner,
yes.
Dave Waberner, yes. Next on the agenda, the pandemic response resolution. And Nicole, is this something you want to speak on?
Sure. So this is just extending the pay for employees through the April 30th date now because we've had the extension. So I know we've explored, other options. Right now, we feel like this is the best option. We don't know what furloughing would mean for all employees and what that looks like. We're also utilizing some, as you guys know, of our hourly employees, some food service, some custodial when there's essential tasks. So this is again, just what you did the last time, but a resolution to pay our district employees through April 30th.
I make a motion that we approve that resolution. Weller.
Jones.
Who was the second?
Jones.
Weller Jones.
Weller Jones. Okay. Got it.
So, sorry, I had to step away from the desk for a second. So we're looking for a motion. We have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Yes.
Have both.
Any further discussion? All in favor, I guess Brian Jones,
Yes.
Jeremy Weller,
Yes.
Morgan Brown,
Yes.
Nancy Manson,
Yes.
Christina Shark,
Yes.
Jeff Bittner,
Yes.
Dave Wabner's a yes. Okay, next on the group board member topics. Anybody have anything they want to talk about?
I don't have anything.
I have one thing. It just goes back to, I guess we talked about it a little earlier tonight, but still goes back to our last meeting. Just some concerns. I want to make sure that we're not sending anyone to work. We approved to keep people at home except emergencies or to work from home, and just want to make sure, even with our custodial craftsman group, that it should be only extremely essential type of activities that we're doing. I understand we're entering the mowing season, so we're going to have some grass mowed, but just seeing and hearing that we have quite a few guys working. And I'm not sure that it would be what would be deemed essential work. So I guess that's a concern
What I have
of
done,
mine.
Dave, is I have brought the head custodians only into their own buildings. I won't tell you when, that way nobody knows, but they are coming in from time to time to make sure that what I was doing was I was going into some of these buildings and I was hearing things that I wouldn't even know if it's normal or not. So what I ended up doing was basically bringing in the people that actually work there, only into their own buildings only. And that way they just walk through, make sure nobody's broke in, make sure the things are sounding the way they should. We don't have a roof leak, and then they go on home. And the only thing that is minimal. And then the other side of stuff is I'm bringing in a mowing crew. We had to start mowing basically last week before it got out of hand. And, all that is minimal. A lot of times I'm sending them home as soon as the job's done. We also got our cooling tower in last week. In fact, it came in last Monday. We pulled the old one, we put the new one in place. It should be almost hooked up by tomorrow. And then we'll have to make sure it's serviced and ready to go. So our warranty is in place. But other than that, we're doing minimal because I care about my workers.
So we don't have any craftsmen coming in on a daily basis?
I have craftsmen coming in, but they are doing the mowing, and none of them are riding together. We still have things that break down. So the mechanic is there to do the weed eaters or the mowers or anything else. But I'm using my craftsmen first, and then the extra help I'm bringing in if I need any, the custodians, but on a rarely basis and minimal.
I got a question too. It's a little bit off the subject, but it's kind of on the same subject. I've heard that we have to flush the toilets in the buildings multiple times a week. Is there a reason for that?
You should do it once a week at least. And you should do that just because, it just water evaporates. And and then that way, that things are working and you're flushing the pipes. But some of these buildings actually have floor drains that the trap dries out on. And I'm having them go in every once in a while and pour water down the floor drains, because once you get that smell, you don't get it out for a couple days. So, they all know where their floor drains are and they all know which ones to do. But yes, we are walking through and flushing the toilets. Every once in a while, you bet.
It's a lot of toilets to flush at the high school, I bet.
Yeah, I bet it is. But they're also going up onto the roofs, making sure the saplings are out of the flat roof drains and doing other things. And, you guys probably, that windy episode that we had, not last weekend, but the weekend before, actually ripped quite a bit of roof off of Evans. It looked like a jump tent when we was looking at it. And we actually have an emergency repair going on this week actually at Evans. But thank goodness we had people checking the building.
Anybody else have any board member topics? If not, next item is adjournment. I need a motion for adjournment in a second.
So
Move
moved.
to adjourn.
So I got, who's that motion, Morgan?
Jeff made one. I'll second his motion.
Okay. All in favor, Brian Jones,
Yes.
Jeremy Weller,
Yes.
Morgan Brown,
Yes.
Nancy Manson,
Yes.
Christina Shark,
Yes, yes.
Jeff Bittner,
Yes.
Dave Waberner, yes.
Have a good evening, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.